Ready ho, here we go. How many do I start like that? It doesn't matter. Here we go. We're calling this one Spectral Safety. And yes, I will be looking down at my phone because I'm that many years old. And that's just how we flow now. This morning, I think the last one that I honestly recorded of these was the harshest, no, my greatest accomplishment about self-love. And I've also recorded the harshest truth. And this is the kind of stuff just swirling around in my existential brain at the moment. And I hit on something recently during my daily reflections. We all know I delight in irony. If you've read any of my articles, I love irony. And I struck upon a bit of irony about psychological safety, true psychological safety, that I felt was worth bouncing off, my rabbit hole people. What is true psychological safety? Well, the reason I titled it Spectral is because it's on a spectrum. And for me, on one side of the spectrum, we have like brain based safety. And this is where the irony comes in because our brains are hardwired to perceive threat 4 times more than perceiving reward. Happy. So we have a 4 times stronger bias towards creating rules, beating ourselves up, calling ourselves a piece of crap because we didn't achieve the rule that we set for ourselves. Meanwhile, it's like, well, I created the rule, so if I break it, like, what's the big deal? But our brain is always looking for reasons to say, you have to be perfect to survive. And then there's lots of other reasons to do with trauma and how we're raised that impact our relationship with psychological safety and that internal dialogue. But for me, on the other side, true psychological safety, at least what I have come to know as true psychological safety, is what I'm calling mindful anarchy. And I love that because, I've been honest about all the weird and wonderful crap that kind of goes on in my brain. And, I've been diagnosed with anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder that manifests as an eating disorder. And, on paper, I'm an absolute fucking whack job. And look, maybe I am. I know I'm weird. I'm not conventional. But I've also figured some shit out. I have really dug deep into the circuits of my brain and figured out what tweaks to make to have it running optimally. And that's why my greatest accomplishment just happened recently with like realizing that I authentically love myself, and it's allowed me to understand that for me, psychological safety means hearing all the rules that my brain creates to try to make me feel safe and help me survive. You have to eat this way. You have to exercise this way. You have to be nice to everybody. You have to please everyone. You have to work really hard, even if you just want to go sleep somewhere or stare at a tree. You have to make everybody think that you're amazing. And I just realized that all of those rules I created do nothing but make me feel like a piece of shit because there's no possible way I can deliver on any of that. Hopefully I'll loop back around to that, but I just want to divert because this is a rabbit hole. And on top of everything else, I highly suspect I have ADHD. ADHD? See? Anyway. The beautiful irony is that all of those rules that our brain creates to try to defend ourselves against the constant threat it's perceiving in our environment, which is mostly social nowadays because we don't have saber-toothed tigers anymore, actually makes us want to escape our own heads because it just becomes this cacophony of self defeating, self sabotaging, judgmental inner thoughts. And I've talked about this before. We find many, many ways to escape those thoughts: alcohol, drugs, binge eating, gambling, sex, you name it. Those are all ways to be like, yeah, I don't want to think. I don't want to feel bad about myself. I don't want to think these things about myself. So I'm going to numb them, quiet them with other things. Ironically, and this is where I'm going on that spectrum. For me, true psychological safety is saying, I hear your rules, and I feel so much compassion because my brain is just doing what it's literally evolved to do, which is keep me alive, keep me safe, look for threat, and then feed myself internal dialogues to steer me away from the threat and the danger. But the actual threat and danger is that I can't escape all of that negative bullshit, and it drives me to truly unsafe behaviors. And welcome to summer in her 20s. I was literally, I don't like to talk about this, but I was put in a psychiatric hospital for a while. I, I lost the plot because it was never ending and I didn't know how to stop it. Well, I didn't know how to stop it, but we're not going there. Best decision I ever made was not to go there because there's no coming back from that place. But anyway, I learned to be compassionate towards those thoughts of like, you need more discipline, you need more self control. You're doing all this stuff wrong. It's like, I hear you, bro. I hear you, chick. You just want to keep me safe, but guess what? You've not always had the best ideas, if I'm honest. And you kind of drive me nuts. So bless your cotton socks. But I'm actually just going to get to know myself a little better and follow what my heart and my gut have to say about things. Just a little bit more. I'm not saying no to your rules. You know, it's on a spectrum, psychological safety. I'm not saying no to your rules. We'll follow some of them, especially if I violate those rules and I literally feel like shit in my body or I feel shame or guilt or hurt that's authentic, that does not go away in time. Otherwise, true safe, true for me, again, always for me. This is just me sharing my journey, hoping it helps other people. For me, true psychological safety is looking in the mirror going, you know what? I've done my best. Operating under those rules or conditions that I've always set for myself hasn't really made me happy. So why don't I just relax into being me? Know I did my best, and that's it. I trust myself. And for me, I can't feel safe in my own head if there's this constant doubt that I'm not living in some magnificent way. It just doesn't make sense to me anymore. And I say anymore for a reason because I've lived that way for 40 years. For 40 years. I'm just going to look at my notes because I'm pretty sure I've gone way off track. Maybe I'll just read this note so it's out there and I feel complete about it. There's a rule. We do this shit to ourselves all the time. I swear. I'm just going to read this note. Then we can, there'll probably be a second part if I'm honest. What is true psychological safety? Like in the harshest truth about our inner dialogues that I've already recorded, it's a deeper aspect of our internal relationship with our threat based brain and its inner dialogue. Ironically, we're in more danger trying to suppress mean or judgmental thoughts, unloving thoughts, and putting arbitrary rules in place to feel safe, and then beating ourselves up for breaking our own rules because that's literally insane. We set the rules. True safety is our ability to practice respectful and mindful anarchy. And if you think about an anarchist society, it is only possible where the society can be truly trusted to not be greedy, to not be selfish, to have good intentions. Like only you can know if you have good intentions and pure intentions. So that's a lot of the work, if I'm honest, is finding your way to what a truly authentic good intention looks like and means, really. Realize the brain is just doing its job. But developing ourselves means growing that internal conversation, developing that communication and conversation. So it's not so one sided. It's not always the brain. Sometimes the heart and the gut get in there. The rules are largely bullshit. We can just be ourselves and rely on how our heart and our gut feel. It's like having a parent that constantly worries for your safety, so creates very rigid and strict rules. When you wish they would just trust you to learn and grow in your own way and in your own time, because this stuff takes fucking time. It does take time to get to know yourself and radical self honesty and bravery, I might add. Trust yourself and love yourself, the greatest accomplishment. Once those rules start to ease up, you feel like you can relax and just be the best version of yourself without worrying that you'll somehow fuck it up. You're truly then becoming psychologically safe. I think I have time for this and then we'll wrap it up. It is like that parent. Like, no one wants a parent with strict rules, but we can all appreciate that they're doing it to try to keep their children safe. But there's a balance, a spectrum of safety. You know, if I was a parent, I would tell them the essentials and then be like, go figure it out. You're going to fuck up. So long as you don't die, everything's fine. That's how we learn. But I do want to say this because I have been in very like dark places. And what I can say is some people need help getting started, and that is okay. If you have tried everything you can possibly think of to improve the quality of your thoughts and become more positive and encourage yourself more and love yourself more and accept yourself more and not be so self-judgmental, you might want to try going to the doctor and giving yourself the advantage of resetting chemically to get you going in the right direction. I had to do that. I had a total mental breakdown. My brain chemistry went absolutely haywire, and I needed medicine to get me started, to put me back on the right track, to equalize and balance my brain chemistry so that I could do this stuff. But even then, that was 16 fucking years ago. Please don't feel any shame. Some people need help. It is a concoction of chemicals in your brain that lead to a lot of this stuff. Lots of people need help, and there is no shame in that. None whatsoever. Whatever's going to help you be the best version of you and reach your full potential, do it. That's self love, too. That's self care. But it does make me so grateful that I have found a practice that works for me. And I'm so grateful for my brain being amenable to being challenged, to working on itself and working on developing itself and improving its own quality of thought and emotions and feelings and behaviors. For me, daily reflection, exercise, meditation, and a balanced diet are enough to keep me psychologically safe and in a mindset of wanting to improve myself and helping others and having good intentions. But I'm telling you what, if one of those things falls off, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. I love myself enough to know that those minimum requirements are not a nice to have. They're not rules. They're what I need to to stay psychologically safe and healthy. I mean, they are rules, but they're the ones worth following. Because on the other side of it, things do get dangerous for me because the quality of my thoughts completely drop off. And for me, what I've learned, my gauge, how I knew to go and get help, I stopped being funny. I've always been able to make myself laugh. That's how I've, even if I was super critical and judgmental and hard on myself, I would still be able to make myself laugh. And when I lost that internal sense of humor, I knew it was time to get help. But it took time to even get to know that about myself. Daily reflection. I love it. All right. Thanks for sticking with me.